What's up, everybody? I'm Ingram. I'm one of the MindCrafters, and today we're going to take a look at one of my favorite mods, Draconic Evolution. Now, this mod is freaking huge, and we are going to try and cover a lot of stuff in this tutorial today. We're actually going to try and cover everything that you see on the walls, and no, this is not sped up. I'm actually moving that fast. We're going to talk about how to do that. We're going to talk about so much more: portals, power tools, all the crazy miscellaneous awesomeness that you can do, crafting components, the suit of armor that I'm wearing right now, how to do some awesome power stuff, how to run without looking at the camera, portals, and mob farms, and I just got stuck in the end. So without further ado, there's stuff in the end too, actually. Let's see if we can get a little sneak preview of that, if I can get some flight going. We are going to talk about how to do the Draconic Awakening ritual. They are all back here. I don't know why I'm doing this, flying like this. There we go. Ritual of Awakening and the Summoning Ritual to summon the dragon as many times as we want. We're going to take a look at all that and more, so stay poised. Alright, so as we mentioned, we are going to cover an absolute ton of stuff, and so there are going to be a bunch of links in the description of the video below that are actually going to jump to the different parts. For example, if you're looking for wireless electricity or how to do the multi-block 2.45 billion or trillion storage block, if you're looking for how to do portals, if you're looking for how to do mob farms, and all of those individual miscellaneous awesomeness blocks over here, there's going to be links down in the description for all of that stuff. If you have any questions, make sure to check us out on Discord. We are there all the time. You can ask us anything you want. Sometimes the mod authors are poking around in there too, so you can maybe get some sneak previews of stuff that's going on. Check us out, TheMindCrafters.com/#chat. This totally amazing mod is brought to us by Brandon3055. Go check him out, Brandon3055.com, Twitter.com/Brandon3055, and of course, and most importantly, he's on Patreon, so go give him some love. Alright, so the fundamental building block of everything that we're going to do is this stuff called Draconic Ore, and we need to find out how we're going to get it. One note before we talk about where it is that in almost every case it's extremely, extremely rare. And so you're going to want to make sure that you're grinding it, stretch it as far as you possibly can. But here's a couple of places you can find it in the world and in the different dimensions based on your mod pack, where you can actually find this Draconic Ore. So you can find it in the Nether, the Deep Dark, the End, Comets in the End, and Chaos Islands, but due to heavy dragon presence that can actually kill you in creative mode, I would not advise mining for them on these things. If you have Aroma's Mining World installed in your mod pack, you should be able to find them there as well. Sometimes on public servers you can have the MFR laser configured with the purple focus to pull ore, but that would require the server admin setting that up. So probably the easiest way is to go and hover over a piece of ore and hit R to see if there's a recipe for that, or to hit R over Draconic Dust and kind of go through here and see what other ways are set up in your pack to actually get that Draconic Dust. Draconic Ore can also be found in the overworld. It's probably the most rare in the overworld. I'm not really sure on that. It is so rare, I ran a quarry that was 10 by 10 at height 74. So that's 100 chunks. It only found 54 blocks of ore in that entire 100 chunk area. So it's very, very rare. One other thing you should definitely do is use my absolute favorite quarry block. That is the Ender Quarry. The Ender Quarry will actually pull out of the ground these solid chunks of ore, which is going to be super important when we talk about the next section, where we're going to actually try and break that ore down. And if you get a raw piece of ore into something like mechanism, you can actually turn that into a 5x multiplier, so that one ore becomes 5 ores, and that's definitely going to be something you're going to want to do. One of the best ways to maximize your dust per ore is probably to get the Fortune 3 enchant. Now, without an enchant, you're going to get between 1 and 3 dust per ore. I actually, in all my testing, averaged a lot closer to 1 dust per ore than I did to 3. The Fortune 3 claims it'll give you between 4 and 12, but on a block of 1,000 ore several times, I got right around 7 dust per ore with the Fortune 3 enchant. It's expensive because you need the emeralds, but it definitely is going to maximize you getting dust per ore for quite some time until you get to the higher levels of ore multiplying. The easiest way to get Fortune 3 is to actually get this enchanter from Ender.io and throw a book and quill, 12 emeralds, and grab yourself, and 40 levels, and grab yourself that Fortune 3 enchanted book. Then if you have the Draconic armor or the Draconic tools, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can actually just add that enchant right to the tool. Pimp yourself out a Draconic Staff of Power, find an 11 by 11 cube, and boom! Oh my goodness. And that big chunk netted me 6,988, or roughly 7 dust for block. Alright, let's talk about processing that ore and more. So, remember, this stuff is super rare, so please make sure to grind it up first. Use a sag mill, use an AE grinder. If you have other mods in your pack, like Mechanism, as we mentioned, you can go 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 5x multiplier. Definitely going to want to do that. You have to, I mean, the tier 7 energy storage block from this mod uses over 200 blocks of Draconic Ore, so, or 200 blocks of Draconic ingots. So you're gonna need to conserve this stuff. You're gonna need to stretch it as far as you can, and it is pretty rare. So make sure you're grinding that in some way. The dust over here on the left is going to be turned into ingots by smelting it. A 9 by 9 of those gives you a block. Then you have to take 100 million RF and charge a regular block with 100 million RF. Yes, that's not a typo. That's not a misspelling. You can use this energy infuser to actually do that pretty quickly. And you just need 100 million RF per block. Those charge blocks are going to be used in things like the rituals in the end, which are going to make you awaken Draconic blocks, and you actually make the awakened Draconic block before you get the ingot. So you're going to convert charge blocks. Excuse me. They're also going to be used to summon the dragon. But the awakened block then gets put into the crafting grid, and that's how you get the 9 ingots. And you're going to need those awakened ingots for a ton of the endgame stuff, all of the endgame armor, all of the endgame tools. It's actually not that easy to get. Alright, now let's talk about the Draconic Evolution power tools. These come in Wyvern versions and Draconic versions. Those Draconic versions are going to need the awakened Draconic ingots. They are super expensive, and actually use the Wyvern tool and upgrade it. There are bows, swords, picks, shovels of both, and then the axe and hoe only exist in the Draconic, the awakened section. And then there's the little ender arrow, which allows you to teleport and is to be used inside the Draconic or Wyvern bow. I've never actually been able to get those to work. Your mileage may vary. If you combine the sword, the pick, and the shovel of the awakened versions, you actually get this thing called the Draconic Staff of Power, and it's freaking powerful. It's crazy. In order to really use any of these tools, or in fact the armor later, you're going to need to configure this stuff. So the first thing you're going to need to do is go hit escape, hit options, go over to controls, and scroll down to Draconic Evolution, and you want to do your tool and armor config GUI. You want to change that. I do mine C, so I go back and find everything else that's using the C key and basically nuke it. You just click and hit escape to get rid of that binding. But pick whatever key works for you, and then when you actually have one of those tools in your inventory and you hit the C key or whatever you change yours to, you'll be able to configure it. And if you click it here, you can see you can change the dig speed, the size, AoE Safe Mode we'll talk about, and then all of your armor configurations are going to be here as well. You can also upgrade all of these tools and all of the armor, and to do that you simply use this thing called an upgrade modifier, and you put your shovel or whatever you want, you put it up in this little circle here, and it'll tell you all the things that you can upgrade. And if we actually grab the awakened version of one of these, we'll just grab the awakened shovel here, and if we put that in there instead, you see that actually there's more things now that we can do, and each of these is going to take a different Draconic core. So for example, I've given myself some of those Draconic cores down here, the awakened, and I've given myself a regular Draconic core. And to do any upgrades to this, you just simply click. Up here will tell you how many cores you can actually add. It'll tell you that there's only 6 that you can put on here. You've already installed 2. You have 4 free. And you can just plus and minus. You won't actually lose these things, which is good because they're freaking expensive. And then you can see as you go, if you look up in the right-hand corner, you can actually see the stats changing based on the cores that we're adding. And this will tell you how many points you have added. Each of these tools can be configured that way. And both the Wyvern and Draconic versions can be configured. Another super cool thing about these is that if you are configuring them and you hit, it's not really obvious, but if you hit item inventory over here, you'll see all of these books, and you can actually put enchants if you have the right enchant. So I just put a soulbound enchant. You can actually enchant each of these tools without actually burning the enchant on the tool. So if, for example, I wanted to later, I could go back into here and grab that book out and use it on a different tool. One note before we demonstrate some of the awesomeness of these tools is that the Draconic bow actually will give you your arrow back. So once you shoot If you're the kind of guy that goes back and gets your arrows, you can actually conserve, save the trees, bro. All right, so let's head over and get a little bit of a demonstration, including the Draconic Staff of Power. Now, we'll talk about how I just teleported when we get to the portal section, but here is a little setup that's going to show us some of the awesomeness. I'm going to demonstrate the Draconic tools because the Wyvern tools are basically just slightly gimpier versions. You're definitely going to have to go Wyvern first before you can even get to the Draconic versions, but let me just demonstrate these. So this is a shovel. This is how big the shovel area can dig. It's freaking huge, and we actually hit bottom here, but that would be a cube. That isn't a cube. That's actually, I think it's 9x9 or 7x7, something like that. Yeah, 9x9 is the max dig AoE, so that's huge. All in one hit, and because it's dirt, it's so super fast. The Draconic Axe can actually be put into something called Tree Mode, which basically gets you Tree Capacitor, for those who remember what that is, but it can chop down all those trees, and boom! Even that big one. What? All right, if we take a look at the Draconic Hoe here, this is an 11x11 area that it will automatically hoe for you. If I click this, boom, you see I just farmed all that area. This is not something that I necessarily use because we do everything with MFR farmers and harvesters and planters, but if you're doing stuff manually, this thing can do an 11x11 grid all at once. All right, now let's talk about the Draconic Bow. Let me just configure this really quick. I'm going to throw some magnification on it. We're going to do 600% magnification, which gives us this. This is almost unusable, but boom! Boom! Oh my gosh. This stuff is so powerful. It's so awesome, and the range is absolutely insane. To demonstrate the incredible range of this puppy, I have asked my noble steed to stand way over there. He's actually so far away that if I move a single block, he'll disappear from my view. Boom! Smoked him! This thing is actually so powerful that I shot it directly up into the sky, and it took 21 seconds to come back and hit me. You can also go high speed with this puppy and just click to your heart's content and just launch an absolute barrage of arrows. The Draconic Sword and Draconic Pickaxe are the other two subcomponents of the Draconic Staff of Power, along with the Draconic Shovel, and they can be used independently, obviously. The Draconic Sword is going to give you attack AoE, and the Draconic Pick is going to give you all of your dig speed and everything. You're actually not going to be able to crank it up quite as large as the Draconic Staff of Power. You kind of get a bonus for the fact that you've made all three, combine them into one, and it is quite the powerful staff. Alright, and last but not least, let's check out this Draconic Staff of Power. This thing is actually configured for a max AoE of 11x11. That's that giant cube in front of me. So, oh, that's a lie, actually. That's the max dig. That's the AoE dig. It'll freaking rip a cube that big out of the earth in one hit. It's so overpowered. This orange stuff, let me just fly up here for a hot minute. This orange stuff is a 27x27 area, and that's how much it'll kill everything inside that area. So if you hit one mob anywhere in that orange square, every other mob in there will die. It's so awesome. You can also pimp this thing's attack damage out. I have it configured with just a couple of them. You can actually put more in here, and its damage right now is 100 points of damage. You'd think that's a lot until you go fight the Chaos Dragon. You can upgrade the RF capacity on all of these. Again, dig AoE, and when you configure this puppy, you can actually see all of the different things that it can do. Let me just talk quickly about AoE Safe Mode and Void Junk. So AoE Safe Mode, when you're doing that giant 11x11 cube of the world that you've for some reason angry at and want to take it out, if there's anything like a tile entity or a block in there that's not normal ore, it won't let you do it. So I really recommend keeping it on one block. You know, if you're running around your base and you accidentally take an 11x11 chunk out of your base, that's going to suck. Make sure you have AoE Safe Mode on. Turning Void Junk on any of these tools will open up this junk filter slot of the item inventory, and you can actually put any block in there that you want to automatically destroy as you're mining. Now, it's important to note that the filter needs to be configured for the block that you're hitting in the world, not the block it's going to turn into. So when you mine regular stone, it turns into cobblestone. You actually need to put the stone block in the junk filter. But then you just walk over and boosh, hit that whole thing, and there was a couple blocks of redstone buried in there that I was actually able to keep. It's friggin' awesome. And then, of course, you can configure these. This is the same for all the tools. You can configure the dig speed if you have that pumped up. The size, you can go 11 by 11. And you can change all of these in different increments as well. And that's going to work for all of the armor, and all of the tools have the same interface. And, of course, this itself can be enchanted. The Draconic Staff of Power is totally, totally dope. All right, let me just demonstrate this killer view that we have here. And I've set up a very simple mob farm. This is like, don't ever do this. This is awful, and this is a great way to generate lag. But let me just demonstrate a little bit of what's going on. So I have all these guys spawning, and then I'm just going to turn on... Oh, that was probably a little too quick. There's a Draconic Staff of Power in that autonomous activator down there that is just going to kill everything. Everything. Let's see if we can do this. Boom! Alright, so let's talk about the Armor of Awesomeness. There is a full set of pimp-looking Wyvern armor, and also the Draconic version, which again is going to use the Wyvern as the recipe. Each of these things you're going to want to configure. They can all be upgraded, and they have, using that same upgrade multiplier actually, and they're going to be able to, or upgrade modifier, sorry, they're going to be able to increase their RF capacity. So they all start with a 10 million RF capacity, and you can jack that way up. Shield capacity is going to be how much damage you can absorb, and then shield recovery is going to be how quickly your damage absorption comes back. So when you're fighting stuff, you're going to want to jack the shield recovery up as much as possible, and make sure you have a lot of shield. And all of those things, those two things are going to drain your RF capacity. And we'll talk about how to recharge on the go when we get to the power section. So let's just cover, again, the Draconic armor is a pimper version of the Wyvern, so we'll just talk about the Draconic. The Wyvern is going to lose some of these stats, but the Draconic armor will give you, the helm will give you night vision, magical sense, which lets you see the TheMindCraft nodes in the world, and has a base of 10 million RF without any upgrades. The chest plate will give you up to 800 vertical acceleration, up to 800 horizontal acceleration. You can cancel inertia, which means you're not going to, like, when you're running forward, you stop immediately when you stop pressing the key instead of kind of sliding. It's awesome. Walk safe is actually on the rest of the three that we'll talk about, and it basically means it's not actually called that, but walk safe is when it'll only crank up your acceleration and stuff when you're walking, and you can turn that on and off. Or when you're not walking, you can turn that on and off. Lock flight, it's like permanent hover mode. You just leave it whatever, it never really matters. And then the legs will give you up to 800% move speed. Again with walk safe, and again with the base of 10 million RF. Your feet are going to give you hill step, which is going to let you automatically walk up a block, so you don't have to jump. You can just kind of power right through little blocks. You don't even need stairs anymore. And gives you 1,000 jump height. And we're going to demonstrate all this stuff. Again, it has the walk safe on and off, so that it only does that when you're sprinting or whatever. All right, so let's actually configure the armor that I have. So I have night vision on, magical sense on, vertical acceleration. Let's freaking crank all of this stuff. Flight speed modifier. Oops, up to effective all sprinting. That's what I called walk safe, lock flight. Inertia cancellation will turn on. I want to demonstrate that. Movement speed. Let's crank this up. And jump height. This is actually it's really too much. So let's see. This is what 1,000% jump height looks like. Wee wee. All right, let's turn that off because it's going to make it difficult to demonstrate everything else I want to demonstrate. So this is what it looks like when you're cranked up your move speed. And then when you fly, super freaking fast. And this is what it looks like to have no inertia. Boop. Immediate. Boop. 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 All over the place. Totally awesome. Super fast. Totally dope. Here is a demonstration, if I can get there, of what it looks like to have magical sense. You can actually see the node, and you can actually see the stuff inside the node, which is totally awesome. All right, let's also take a look at how to configure that little HUD down the bottom, the heads-up display. If you go hit C or whatever your configuration key is, and then hit configure HUD elements, you can actually drag this around and move it all over the screen. And this is going to show you your shield recharge, your shield recharge rate. You'll be able to watch that go up and down here. You can actually change, so you can crank the scale of everything, and then you can hide it. You can do your shield display settings, all that stuff here. You can rotate it if you wanted, numeric or non-numeric. all that kind of stuff. And it's also going to show you your shield charge, which is going to be important. So it looks like 60% charge right now, which is roughly correct. So I just put myself in survival and I'm spawning a bunch of zombies in the middle of the day, but let me just show you. This is what it looks like when you get beat. So you can take a licking and keep on kicking, and then if you notice that my shield is slowly depleting, and if I run away, you'll see it's trying to recharge. You can see that EN%, and that's how much shield I have left. And if I run out of that, you start to get beat up real bad. All right, so let's talk about some of the major crafting components and what they're going to be used for. The Draconic Core. I'll just show the recipe just for this one. But it's these Draconium ingots, and then in the center is a diamond. And what I've done here is the Wyvern core has another star at the center. The Awakened core, I think, has a Wyvern core actually at the center. But it's going to use Awakened ingots. We can actually just check that recipe. Nope, just has a Draconium ingot at the core. Okay, and then the Chaos core is actually going to use a Chaos shard. You're going to have to kill the Chaos Dragon to do that. Those things can be used. They're going to be used in a bunch of different things. They're very pricey, especially when you get into the Awakened core. The Chaos core is not used for very much. It is used for the reactor, so you're gonna want to keep an eye on that one. Those things can be put into Draconic Energy and Wyvern Energy cores, and then those are going to be used in a bunch of different things. One of which is the Draconic and Wyvern Flux capacitors, and those Flux capacitors are actually portable power chargers and storage, and they are upgradable in the this little guy here. Whoops, still cracked at my armor is still super powerful. The upgrade modifier is going to allow you to upgrade those with other cores, and you can actually get the flux capacitor up to 1.45 billion RF. And let me just demonstrate how you actually use these. They have a bunch of different modes that you have to get it in your hotbar, hover over it, and then shift click. You can charge everything in your hotbar, or you can charge your armor and what you're holding, or your hotbar and your armor, and then you can just disable it. So it's good if you're going to fight the Chaos Dragon, get a bunch of these, crank them up as much as you can, and make sure you're covering your armor and your tools that are in your hotbar. The Dragon Heart is actually going to be used. I've labeled that like an uber crafting component. You're going to need to do a ritual, which we will talk about later. But you actually, when you kill the Ender Dragon, he drops a heart. And then you can kill subsequent Ender Dragons and get more Dragon Hearts. Those things are going to be necessary for the Awakening Ritual, which is going to get us the Awakened Core, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. All right, let's talk about the Ritual of Awakening, and that is going to actually let us change charged Draconic blocks into these Awakened Draconium blocks. This is the only way, short of cheating, to get the Awakened Draconium block. And to do it, you're going to need a Dragon Heart, which means you need to actually kill the End Dragon to start. And then when you kill him, as he dies up in the sky, it's very sad, it's very tragic, and he also drops his heart. So make sure to run over there and grab that junk before somebody else does. Once you get the Dragon Heart, you're going to need to charge, this is ridiculous, you're going to need to charge 4 charged Draconic blocks, each of which requires 100 million RF to charge. So you need 400 million RF pumped into these blocks. Then you're going to take the Draconic Core. Those are like actually the easiest ones, which is kind of surprising. And you're going to need 4 Draconic Cores per charged block. Now, I should clarify, you can do this ritual with actually only 1 charged Draconic block, and therefore only 4 Draconic Cores. However, that's a pretty solid waste of a Dragon Heart. You're going to want to do as many as possible to maximize a Dragon Heart, because we're going to talk about the summoning ritual. It's not actually easy to get another Dragon Heart. You need another 400 million RF. So you're going to want to maximize your efficiency. So let's do the actual ritual here. So if we take, we have a Dragon Heart, we have 4 charged Draconium blocks, 400 million RF again in those, some Draconic Cores, and I'm just going to do this kind of a lazy way. This is not maybe the best way to use regular TNT, but what we're going to do, put the 4 charged Draconic blocks kind of anywhere, but you want to keep them in range, so put them right next to it. They will not blow up with the TNT. We're going to charge some TNT, throw the heart in there, and it's going to activate the heart. Okay, now what we got to do is for each of those charged Draconic blocks, we need to throw 4 Draconic Cores. So I'm going to throw 16 in there. They're going to get sucked in. This thing's going to start spinning wildly and pimp these guys out. And it's going to spin. It's going to get faster and faster and faster and faster. And then eventually, you see how it's turning orange, just giving an indication of what's going to come. Sometimes if there's a little glitch, Gosh, that's so loud. You can actually trick it and get more than 4 out of it. But here are the 4 awakened Draconium blocks, and if you take that in your inventory and put that in there, that's how you get your awakened Draconium ingots, and that is the awakening ritual. Alright, up next, let's talk about the summoning ritual, aka channeling your inner Hanzo. In order to do this ritual, you are going to need 4 glowstone, arranged in this pattern with 4 obsidian, just regular obsidian, and then this thing called the resurrection stone, the recipe for which requires mob souls. We already talked about how to get those. That is going to get you the resurrection stone. You put that in the middle there, and then the deal with these is that you need to make these little pillars. And so you need a quartz pillar block underneath a diamond block, and you need 4 of those. And then you need 2 quartz pillar blocks underneath a charged draconium block. Again, that's 100 million RF per block. You need 4 of them. You do actually need all of these materials for this. The Ritual of Awakening you can kind of do with just 1 set instead of 4, but for this one you actually need all of them all at once. These can be, these pillars and columns, if you look in the little manual, they are arranged in a certain layout. It's actually kind of annoying to do, and it's not required, thank goodness. It just looks better. This works. They just need to be within 5 blocks of the resurrection stone. This needs to happen kind of on this main Ender Island. These do need to happen within, both rituals I think need to happen within 150 blocks of 0, in the end, so you need to do them kind of on this main island. And then the deal here is we've already killed the dragon once, presumably. Once everything is set up here, once we have our charged draconium blocks sitting on top of all their quartz pillars and the diamond on top of that, and this laid out like this, we're actually, this is going to probably demolish everything. This is going to be awful. But you just click that. It's going to start doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And this actually takes a little while, so I might cut out and show you when the dragon actually spawns in. Now, when the dragon spawns in, he's going to reset all of these things, and you're going to have to destroy them all again. And it's good to come prepared with some serious stuff for this fight. Every time you kill this dragon, he is going to get harder and harder and harder. There is a max limit, but he will get harder and harder and harder. And I've never had a problem with him. If you're using draconic stuff, you can actually kill him within like 30 seconds. Okay, things are starting to get crazy. Everybody's getting struck by lightning, and there is the dragon. Oh, don't mind those. I put those there, and I was trying to make a dragon farm. We are going to have to kill this guy, and we're going to have to destroy... He is going to have regeneration for 25 seconds, and you still need to wipe out all of these things. They're going to reset. Definitely come in here with the bow and just try and pimp this thing out. Let's see if I can power through his regen. For the Horde! There we go, we powered right through. And there's the Ender Heart that we're going to use in the Awakening Ritual. Just go over that and grab that. And then, of course, he's going to drop tons of XP. And he drops Draconic Dust. So, make sure to get that. And there we go. That is the Ritual of Summoning. And you can do that as many times as you need, and be careful because it demolished all my stuff. Alright, dear people of the internet, that is all for today. We have run out of time. Next episode, we are going to cover the miscellaneous awesomeness in the back wall, as well as some draconic power awesomeness, the portals, and mob farms for all. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Hit us up on Discord if you have any questions at all. Thanks for watching. See you next time, and stay poised.